Welcome to the Fantasy Syndicate Podcast with your hosts, Joshua Poniatowski and Alex Taylor. Let's talk football.
Hello, and welcome to the Fantasy Syndicate Podcast. My name is Josh Poniatowski, and with me, my co-host, my friend, Alex Taylor. What's going on, dude?
What up? Let's go.
Don't forget JSN jersey giveaway. Comment, like, subscribe, and you'll be entered. We're giving that jersey away at the end of the year. But we're going to talk about Week 7 insights, trade targets, waiver wire, really everything you need to know to steal a championship. Before we do that, I have something to share that I think is fun. It's not necessarily fantasy football related, but it is 100% football related. And we talk about football on this show. And Alex doesn't know what I'm going to talk about right here.
That's what we do.
I've kept very close to my chest for many, many, many years. But all right, so for
years,
to give you years.
Okay.
So to give you some context,
this is a big situation. You're dropping a big bomb on us, eh?
I just think it's funny. So for those of you that don't know, I'm a huge UCF football fan, avid UCF football fan. I have been a 14-year season ticket holder. Go to almost as many games as possible. Of all the teams that I'm very passionate about, UCF is top of my list.
Yeah,
so
devout fan for sure.
Yes, absolutely. So personally, I've always been a big Dillon Gabriel guy. Ever since he played at UCF, he played at UCF for a couple years before he ended up transferring. I always thought he was undervalued, underrated as a passer because of his size. He was from Hawaii, actually. Some people don't know this. He actually broke Tua's passing record when he was in high school. So he surpassed Tua after that. And you would think my friends would know by now that I'm one of the greatest ever to evaluate college talent coming into the NFL, right? You would think everybody would know this by now.
Yeah.
But for a little bit over 3 years ago, so this was about 3 years ago, I was talking in our UCF group chat. We have a group chat of guys that, went to UCF, talk about UCF. And Christian was one of those guys. For those of you that don't know, Christian is one of our buddies, the UCF guy.
Huge bum.
Dying love for the Jags, T-Law. We're not going to get into
Poor
that.
Man.
But, yeah. But he absolutely despises Dillon Gabriel. Me being a Dillon Gabriel truther, I mentioned 3 years ago that I thought Dillon will eventually play in the NFL on Sundays. And he did not like that take. He did not like that take whatsoever. And yes, we ended up making a bet. So in September 2022, we made a bet that if Dillon Gabriel was to, I got the receipts. I'm going to show a screenshot. That if Dillon Gabriel was to not play in an NFL game, but win an NFL game, which is why I haven't said anything yet.
Okay.
Win an NFL football game as a starting quarterback, Christian would get the state of Hawaii tattooed on his ass.
No way. He didn't make that bet.
If you do not believe me, here is a picture of the screenshot.
For everyone's knowledge. Zero tattoo. Virgin skin. Wait, you have that in writing somewhere?
I got this. Yep. I'm going to show my screen of him making this bet. Here we go. This was the original take. Like, there's some text above that. But I was talking about it, and he said, if he wins a game in the NFL, I will get the state of Hawaii tattooed on my ass. I said, I will take that free bet deal.
Gosh.
And then he ended up liking the comment as a confirmation that he was making the bet with me. And our other buddy also said, and literally I threw a GIF in there. I was like, your ego is writing checks that your butt cannot cash. So first of all, do you think this is like legal? Like if I were to get a lawyer involved and now I got to get Christian to get a state, like I think he should just
legal.
do it
No. So you have not reached out to Christian. You've not reminded him yet. He doesn't know about this.
No. I don't even think he remembers this, but the second it happened, I was like, I'm saving this screenshot. I'm remembering the date. And at some point in the future, DG is going to be an NFL starting quarterback. He's going to win an NFL game. And my man, Christian, is going to get the state of Hawaii tattooed on his ass.
Wow. I mean, we got to see that happen. I mean, I kind of want to, can we call him? Like, can we call him in right now and just see his response to see if he even remembers it?
I don't know if we have these capabilities. I'm going to be honest.
Yeah, we're not that tech savvy here.
But I did text him and I was like, hey, you need to make sure you listen to the show this week because there might be something interesting that you might be involved with. Christian is now probably finding out about this as he's listening to this. And also, if you think Christian should do it, comment. Yes,
he has to. He has to.
He absolutely has to, right? So,
and I'll let you know, I'm actually in like 2 or 3 hours. I'm meeting him for dinner tonight, so I will.
Okay.
I'm not gonna give out the spiel.
Don't ruin this.
But I'm gonna be like, just so you know, there's something coming for you on this episode.
Yes. Please do not ruin it, because the only person that has known this is like my wife. I had a screenshot. I haven't told anybody for years. So don't mention it. I want them to listen to this and be like, okay, well, let me see this.
Hey, we got to be there. We got to videotape it. We'll make some reels out about it.
Absolutely. That'd be hilarious. Now,
so good.
As we went on, so Christian agreed to that bet. You can see that he wrote here, he said, okay, now you have to make one, Josh. So he said, I need to make a bet.
Can I call it the fact that you have his name as Christian Cochran?
Yeah. Well, hey, listen, that's his name. All right. That's his last name unofficially. Okay.
It's not his name, but we won't dox him, although we are doxing people in the chat. Okay, go on. Scroll down.
Yeah, so he said, I have to make one. Before I show, I would like you to know that I did not agree to this. I did not confirm whatsoever that I was making this bet. I took the bet from Christian, and then he tried to come up with a stipulation after. It was just not a part of the agreement, okay? Well, he ended up saying that if Scott Frost ever coaches at UCF again, that I have to get his face on my ass. Which, those of you...
Was there backstory there that you would
agree... No, he was, I think, just trying to come up with something that he thought was just as outlandish as Dillon Gabriel winning an NFL football game. And for those of you that don't know, Scott Frost is UCF's head coach at the moment for the second time, which is crazy. But I never agreed to this. It's not something, but I think Christian needs to get that state of Hawaii tattooed on his butt.
Would you get, maybe not his face, I don't know, maybe like a little SF or something like that. If Christian agrees to the state of Hawaii bet tattoo, would you get a little something just as a, maybe not the man's face, because that's a little weird. Plus it was Christian who came up with both of them. It's not even like you came up with the other one.
I didn't agree. If I get like a UCF tattoo, I'd be down with that. Yeah, like a UCF instead of Scott Frost, I'll get like a UCF tat or something. I'd be willing to do that.
On the butt, but because that's funnier.
Okay, I'm not agreeing to that. No legal binding contract here.
We'll see what happens.
I thought that was just amazing. I needed to share it on the show. I thought that was worth 5 or 10 minutes that it took to do that. So awesome stuff.
He's gonna chicken out 100%. But
100%.
He needs to, but he'll chicken out.
Yeah. All right. Well, we're gonna roll into it. I got a data dump for week 7, like I like to do. But before I do that, Alex, do you think Bijan Robinson is going to rush 150 yards against the Miami defense this week? Over or under 150 yards rushing?
Does it have to be rushing or can it be all purpose?
I'm saying rushing. I knew all purpose. Like, that's too easy. I mean, I would take that bet.
150 is a lot. 150 is a lot.
Rico just did it, and y'all were giving him flack because it was the bottom of the defense. All right?
Yeah. I'm going to say under. I think he probably puts up about like 125 rushing, but then he probably has an extra 50 receiving. I think he crushes the over all purpose, but I think it's under on just rushing.
Under 150. Okay. All right. Just curious where we're at. We'll revisit this next week. See what happens. Rolling into the key data points for week 7. First up, the Falcons have allowed an average of 2 receptions and 8 yards a game to tight ends the entire season. This is an average, which is absolutely insane. My takeaway from this is go out, buy George Kittle, because next week, this upcoming Sunday, is tight ends week, which is a holiday that he invented. For those of you that do not know,
he gets hyped. He
absolutely does. Purdy should be coming back healthy. He's just going to pop off. And I think if you don't buy him now, it's going to be too late. Jaylen Warren has 0 rushing touchdowns on the year, but is seeing 71% of the rushing opportunities within the 5-yard line. He saw 100% of those opportunities in week 7. He's at 84% of the rushing opportunities, kind of percentage point. It is inevitable that he finds the end zone in the coming weeks. He's due for a touchdown. Bam Knight played 62% of the early down and third yardage snaps for the running back room in Arizona for the second week in a row. Arizona has a week 8 bye. There are 4 other teams on bye. Bam gets Dallas, who is allowing 141 yards on the ground to running backs in week 9. Roster him if you need somebody going into that week 9 matchup. Darnell Mooney when he is healthy, Drake London and him average around 60 to 65 yards a game. They're almost identical as receivers. When Mooney is out of the game, Drake London is averaging over 100 yards a game. So you take that how you will as far as the Drake London stock goes. Since we're on Atlanta, when playing at home, Michael Penix is averaging 287 passing yards, 1.3 touchdowns, and 105 passer rating, which is awesome for a quarterback. In away games, though, he is averaging 182 yards, 0.3 touchdowns, and 67 passer rating. This could impact Mooney and London moving forward, so keep an eye on matchups and schedules for those two. Maybe this is an enigma, but if we see these home and away splits...
Well, I was going to say, maybe it's something to say home versus away. Maybe it's dome versus not. I don't know. I'm
maybe
just
dome.
I know Atlanta plays in a dome, so that's just like, first thing that popped in my head. Let me see what his schedule was. He just played at San Fran. That's open. That's a field. At Carolina, that's open also, and at Minnesota, that's a dome. So and that one was bad too. But the other two of them were real fields and stuff like that. So just something to monitor
for sure. All right, well, jumping into, I feel like the biggest talking point of this week is the Bengals situation. Joe Flacco threw for 47 times, 340 yards,
some
3
touchdowns.
Some
kind of Joe.
They just replaced him. Jamar Chase, T. Higgins together, over 22 receptions, 250 yards, 2 touchdowns between two of them. Chase Brown, my boy, also had 100 yards on the ground. Alex, are the Bengals back? And what do you think this situation moving forward looks like?
I mean, back somewhat. I mean, Jamar Chase and T. Higgins are easily the best wide receiver duo of Flacco's career. If anything, he's got to be like, man, quarterback's always this easy playing quarterback.
Easy,
It's like easy mode for him. Is Flacco some kind of game breaker? No. Is the O-line still a concern? Yes. But Flacco is, savvy enough to know, hey, get the ball to your studs. The Bengals also have a really juicy playoff schedule: Bills, Ravens, Dolphins. So I'm feeling pretty good about the Bengals' value from here to the rest of the season. Another kind of question mark, though, the Chuba Hubbard versus the Rico Dowdle situation, Josh. Dave Canales has already officially said publicly that they're going to continue to use them both in like a time split moving forward. Rico Dowdle's come out. He's also said that, they knew they would be rotating drives last week. Rico Dowdle, though, finished with 96 all-purpose yards on 18 opportunities. Chuba Hubbard finished with 16 opportunities for only 55 all-purpose. Josh, what do you think happens comes out of this situation?
I think if you watch this game, it's pretty clear that Rico was the better back in that backfield. I know a lot of people are going to talk about how Chuba was hit in the backfield on some attempts. He has a big contract that they just signed. He's team captain, yada, yada. Okay, but to me, it doesn't matter. Chuba has had 0 broken tackles through 7 weeks, which is insane as a running back. Like, that literally cannot happen.
Yeah.
He averages a league low 1.82 yards after contact, and he has 0 explosive runs, like not a single one this season. So this backfield might be 50-50 split on paper, but I truly believe as time goes on, Rico's going to start seeing more of a 60-40 split. He also has already been seeing the goal line opportunities, which was happening prior to the Chuba injury. I think if the owner of Rico is down on him and thinks this 50-50 is an issue, that you should go out and buy him and target him for cheap. I value him as a low-end running back too, with running back 1 upside. If he ever gets the opportunities, he should have a smash outing against Buffalo, who is leading the league in run funnel defense. So it should be a good outing for him. Alex, so talking about your boy, Kyle Monangai, finally, he saw his moment in the sun. He's had 15 attempts, 94 yards, touchdown. How do you think Ben Johnson uses these 2 running backs moving forward? Does this hurt Swift more than it helps Monangai? Do we even think this is like a Sharp Walker situation or Rico Chuba? What does this look like? What do you think?
No, it's not going to be that split. I mean, yes, career high in snaps and opportunities was good to see. Monangai went out and made himself a hot waiver ad this week. People are excited. But to me, he's still the clear backup. As much as I wish he wouldn't be, he is still the clear backup to Swift. 4 of his 13 carries came on the literally final drive of the game as they were just trying to run out the clock.
It's good context.
So it really wasn't as involved. So he's officially on the fantasy radar now, but someone you should be probably not really looking to start this week unless you're just really in a pinch because there's a lot of buys this week.
I mean, talking about this week, he's got the Ravens and Cincinnati in the next 2 weeks. They're allowing 1 to 2 to fantasy running backs. Talking about Swift, I think he might be a sell high candidate, maybe after these 2 weeks, maybe before if you need to, because moving forward, we obviously know Monangai might eat into some of that work, but they're also only favored in 2 of the next 7 games after these 2, which usually means more pass heavy script. Somebody, if you got, maybe you could sell high on him, especially after a monster outing there. Kendre Miller is injured with an ACL injury and out for the rest of the season. We spoke about the Saints last week, but is Kamara now back? Like, Alex, what do you think?
Man, I lost a really big parlay on him. I'm not really falling for it. I mean, Kamara, he did have 78% of snaps through the first 4 weeks. Where the Saints were losing every single quarter of those ones. Kellen Moore, we've also talked about. You've loved to talk about how he just does not really target the running backs really at all in the passing game, which is typically where Kamara's feasted. Also, Miller was kind of eaten into rushing down work, not really passing down work, so that doesn't really make him much of a PPR help kind of situation. So, no, I'm still not really valuing Kamara all that much. Maybe a little more. Maybe a little bit of a boost, but not much.
Okay. All right, good to know.
Justin Fields, though, was finally benched this week for Tyrod Taylor. Aaron Glenn, I think, still hasn't really confirmed who the Week 8 starter was going to be yet. Josh, who are you kind of hoping gets the nod for this week?
Tyrod Taylor, I feel like if Fields got pulled, the GM actually came out publicly bashing Fields a little bit, whether it was intentional or not. I don't know if you saw that video. It was just not great, him talking crap about Fields without saying it. Either way, I think it's improvement for pass catchers because they're going to have to throw. This doesn't really change much as far as the fantasy relevance of wide receivers on that team. McBride is on a bye, so a streaming tight end this week could be Mason Taylor if available, right? He's going against Cincy, giving up the number 2 in receptions, number 1 in yards, and number 1 in touchdowns to tight ends this year. He's a streaming option if you need one at tight end. I'd also like to note that the Jets play the Jags, Saints, and New England in the fantasy playoffs. So if you're an owner of Wilson, even if Tyrod Taylor isn't the starter this week, you need to hold on to him or maybe try out to go and buy him if you can't afford, the next 3 weeks without some points from him. Because if Tyrod's under center, he gets those matchups into playoffs. Even if they're 0 whatever at that point, this is not going to matter. They're gonna throw him to rock. So yeah, Alex. Now I hate to do this, but the Bucs were embarrassed against the Lions on Monday night. Everybody in the nation was watching that game. Is this still a top 5 offense moving forward?
Listen, there were some questionable ref calls, but I'm not even gonna dive into that right now. But I will acknowledge it was probably the worst game Baker has had in a Bucs uniform. I mean, he was just missing wide open receivers kind of all night. The deep passing had been one of his best strengths all season. That's kind of what got him that MVP hype. This week, 4-8 on passes, 20-plus yards. Listen, bad games are going to happen. The Lions, they were at home in their dome. We know they love to pop off in their dome. They were fired up after losing the Chiefs last week. So you just kind of got to shake it off and recalibrate. Obviously, vibes are very low with Mike Evans going down with a broken clavicle. Probably going to miss most of the regular season. Obviously, the 1K 1,000-yard receiving streak is officially done. My hope is just that he maybe makes it back for a deep playoff run. A couple epic playoff games just to cap off his career would really solidify that Hall of Fame chances. So that's kind of where my mind is. Tez Johnson, though, the rookie, should be a quality flex play this week. I mean, he saw 9 targets this week. He did have some rookie mistakes. He ran a couple wrong routes and was in the wrong position a couple times. I saw him and Baker kind of getting at it a little bit, but that's going to happen. Emeka should get back on track. He had some good opportunities. Again, Baker just missed him a couple times. So overall, should be better games ahead.
Baker usually has that magic and the ability just to get people going and making plays. And it was kind of there, but not in the full effect. 1 out of 7, right? He's been doing it every week. So he needed a rest, a down week. And Tez Johnson would have had 50 more yards and an additional touchdown had Baker thrown even a semi-accurate pass on 2 of the passes. So I like Tez a lot, Alex. I know you're not sold on him 100% yet.
No, I'm not sold on. He's just so little. He's so tiny. Little that I'm not gonna have put a lot of faith in him. He's a good
Tank Dell
gadget
man.
guy.
He's a Tank Tank Dell dude, right? Like Tank Dell brought fantasy value.
He had face value for a little bit, and now he's out of the league for like a year.
Yeah,
so.
This isn't Dynasty. We're redrafting, baby. We're just picking him up, throwing him in. He's got some upside. So I like Tez too.
Bucks offense will be better, but one offense that is not better is the Raiders offense, and that needs to be addressed.
That's true.
I mean, an NFL team not cracking 100 all-purpose yards is a fireable offense. I get it was against the Chiefs.
So
the Chiefs
bad.
have a very good defense, but not even 100 total yards in a whole game. Geno was, listen, never anything special in Seattle, but at least he seemed somewhat competent, do the basics of the job, but now he's just flailing around out there. Josh, is there any hope for this offense coming out of the bye this week or next week?
First off, they were like, all right, we're going to hire a 74-year-old coach and it's going to be all right. I mean, come on. We knew the Raiders really had a bad offense kind of going into this game, but they show flashes, right? They have games where they just look like they got it together. Geno isn't as mobile as some of the other quarterbacks, so this is going to happen in games when they have a good pass rush. The offensive line is terrible. They're not going to be able to get much going. Down the stretch, their schedule really isn't getting easier. They have Denver, Cleveland, Chargers, Denver again, and then Philly and Houston, which from a pass catcher standpoint is just not great. But I will say a couple things about Jakobi and Brock to be aware of. Brock Bowers is going to be coming back from injury after this week. He's going to be facing the Jags, which if you can believe it, the Raiders are favored right now at the moment to win that game, which crazy.
That's kind of crazy.
That is crazy.
From Vegas.
Yeah, but they get a tough Denver matchup after that, and then they get Dallas. I feel like this 3-week window, Brock should come back hopefully healthy. He gets peppered with targets. He puts up some massive outings. And then maybe this is where you can kind of offload him and try to get some type of value out of him. Because right now it's been, I want to say nothing for the most part. But I still think he's a dominant tight end. He's an elite talent. And that's going to come through in these next couple weeks. As far as Jakobi Meyers goes, he was a late scratch in this game. The rumors are Jakobi could be getting traded to a wide receiver needy team. I think simply because of this, I'm not saying necessarily go out and trade for him, but he's definitely worth keeping on your roster, holding on. New England maybe is a good landing spot. They're humming right now. The only thing is that upgrading their wide receiver room significantly? I don't know. So how much would they be willing to give up? But a change of scenery would be good for Jakobi's stock, I think, regardless of where he ended up going.
Jakobi Meyers in New England? That'd be crazy to see.
Right?
Wink, wink. Or the Giants,
Yeah. On the other side of the field, we had the Chiefs offense absolutely humming. Alex, I know you were heavily invested in Rashee Rice. How you feeling about this performance so far?
Thank the Lord. The clouds have parted, and I can see the sun again. I was dealing with so many injuries of buys, and Rajee's just like my savior right now. I mean, he earned 10 targets this week, which was double the next highest player on the team. And this was with the starters were pulled midway through the third quarter because they were absolutely just spanking the Raiders so bad. So, I mean, 10 targets on only like 2.5 quarters worth of game. Heck yeah. Mahomes has been playing really well this season. So if Rajee's consistently getting double-digit targets, I think he's a clear top 10 wide receiver down the stretch.
Easy. No questions asked. Kelsey ended up, I forget what the percentage was, but it was not good. So, yeah, that's probably going to...
decent yards. He only had, I think, 3. He had like 3 catches,
yeah.
but he ended up getting like 50-something yards, which is,
So maybe you still got that window to sell him when I talked about him last week. Because, it was like 9% target share, I think, or somewhere around. It just was not great.
I mean, like I said, no one else was over 5, and Rashee had 10. He was absolutely just dominating.
It was also a blowout, so they didn't really need to throw. All right, well, we're going to move over to the buy low, sell high targets. My first buy low, I'm doubling down, man. I'm doubling down on Breece Hall. The Jets are terrible, a shell of themselves, but I still believe in Breece's talent and his upside. He has the Bengals this week. Should be an absolute freaking smash because they're number 1 giving up fantasy points per game to running backs. Buy low while you still can on Breece Hall. Trade rumors, even if not, he's got a great schedule down the stretch.
And he doesn't have Justin Fields to be vulturing goal line touchdowns from him anymore.
That's true.
Yeah,
that's true.
Good news for Breece. I'm saying Derrick Henry, the king is still the king and will finish strong. Lamar is hopefully back this week. Hopefully this they're coming out of bye. Hopefully they can kind of get back on track. The Ravens are desperate for some wins at only 1-5. The Bears are giving up the 5th most rushing yards per game in the NFL. I think Henry goes berserk and helps you carry the team, your fantasy team, to the playoffs.
Another one. Y'all aren't going to want to hear this, and you're probably thinking this man is absolutely insane. Chase Brown, baby. League-winning running back. Okay.
You love
We spoke about the Bengals. This offense line is still absolutely terrible. And yes, there's going to be bad weeks. But listen to this freaking juicy schedule. He has the Bears, the Ravens twice, the Bills, the Dolphins, and Arizona, who collectively are all top 10 in fantasy points allowed to running backs, averaging totally, a running back averages 21 fantasy points a game to them. If Joe Flacco can open up the passing game even a little bit, like we just saw him do, right? They're going to have to pull back on those stacked boxes. Even if the offensive line is terrible, he's going to be a league winner. Go out and get him. Don't spend a whole lot for him, right? But I am so glad that I've held on to this man for this long. If you still have Chase Brown or can get him for cheap, I'm saying do it. It's a high risk, but could potentially be high reward because we know what he can do in a high-powered offense.
Yeah, he's only got the one touchdown that you're really nerfing him, but that's just because the whole Bengals offense has been so bad.
Yeah, that's going up, man.
I know.
Talking about got the good vibes.
Yeah,
Bengals.
So it's suppressing his value. I'm looking at a buy low on Tetairoa McMillan. Bryce Young got hurt. His ankle possibly won't play this week. In comes a Copper Rocket, Andy Dalton. I think this could be an improvement for T-Mac, and I'm looking to scoop him up cheap because he only had a single-digit performance this week.
I think this is a great pickup, especially if, what do they call him? The redheaded gunslinger? Oh, no, the Copper Rocket, right? You said that. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, I like that.
Gunslinger.
I like Ted a lot. I think I liked him as a wide receiver, like one upside, but Andy Dalton for sure hopefully brings that stock up. This isn't a buy now for the moment, but it's like a next week buy. So throw a feeler out there for Jaylen Warren. So he went back to his workhorse role immediately when he returned. I already shared some stats with you about Jaylen Warren, but in 5 back-to-back weeks, Warren faces the Bengals, the Bears, the Bills, the Ravens, and then to start the fantasy playoffs, he has the Dolphins. All of these are top 5, not top 10, not top 20. Like these are top 5 most favorable running back matchups for fantasy running backs. If you are a team that is struggling right now to get some wins, he could be that 5-week threshold, catapult you into the playoffs, maybe even get you into the semis if you are in desperation kind of running back, or maybe sitting at 500, not feeling too good about your team. I don't think there is a better player right now from a value perspective and a matchup perspective that could get you to semis in that running back role that is at that kind of price point. The biggest downside, though, is that he has the Lions and then the Cleveland Browns in the actual fantasy playoffs. That's an issing for week 16 and 17. So you got to get there first. And
Yeah, things change. The landscape of the NFL changes on a week-to-week basis, so you never know what happens between now and then.
So worry about it then. All right, moving over to sell highs. I know I talked up Rico Dowdle before. I am going to say that you can sell Rico Dowdle, okay? I think he's a sell high. He's going to probably go off against the Bills this week. They have the number 1 run funnel. I talked about this. The reason why I like selling on Rico, though, is because he faces Green Bay, Falcons, Niners, Rams, Bucks, and Seattle in the fantasy playoffs. These are bottom of the league in allowing running backs to score fantasy points. He just gets a tough schedule after this kind of Bills game. And if somebody values Rico like I do, like I am very high on Rico, I might honestly buy him even in this situation. If you have other holes or other needs in your team, or you think you can get a better player, I think it's worth the deal simply because of the playoff schedule and those tough matchups that he has coming up if you're not running back needy team.
So his schedule is like the exact opposite of Jaylen Warren's is what I picked up on that. Someone I'm kind of over or interested maybe shipping out would be Travis Etienne. He started the season hot, 4 straight double-digit fantasy performances, but has now scored in the single digits for 3 straight. So his efficiency numbers are dipping. He also saw only 11 opportunities this week, which is a season low. He's also got a pretty rough playoff matchups with the Colts and the Broncos. I just don't see him as much more of like a flex play going forward. So if someone needs him as like an RB2 instead of a flex, then I would consider shipping him out.
But are you also worried about Bijan Tootin at all, or is it more so the opportunity?
A little bit.
Defense?
I mean, Tootin's still only getting about like 5 or 6 opportunities a game. He hasn't really shot up enough to make, that I'm like valuing Tootin that much. It's more of
Gotcha.
just
Okay.
like he's being inefficient. He's also not getting a lot of opportunities and, rough playoff schedule.
I got you. Okay. All right, we're going to move over to the waiver wire ads. First one up, Caleb Williams. Listen, okay? Don't get upset about this. I get it. He just had a terrible outing. The weather was less than ideal. I think he had 5 fantasy points in some leagues. It was a very run-heavy game script. Williams goes against the Ravens this week, who, again, are allowing second most fantasy points to actually quarterbacks as well. Lamar is supposed to be back. They are not favored. He is going to have to throw the ball. There's probably going to be a shootout in some capacity. They're not going to be able to milk the clock. I like him, especially with a lot of quarterbacks on bye this week, as a plug-and-play. I am starting him in one of my other leagues this week if you need a quarterback. I like it.
Someone I think needs to be picked up, and we talked about him earlier. That's going to be Tez Johnson of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah.
The lightest weighing player in the NFL, has scored a touchdown in back-to-back weeks. Mike Evans will be missing significant time, unfortunately. No word on when Jaylen McMillan's even supposed to be back from his neck issues. Chris Godwin, they say, is probably going to be held out this week because we were by next week's.
Makes sense.
Get him back in week 10 fully healthy. So moral of the story, Tez should be seeing significant touches again in week 8 against the Saints defense.
I love Tez, man. I like it. Isaiah Davis, if Breece Hall gets traded, it might be Davis's backfield. This isn't amazing, again, because he's a running back on the Jets. He's a warm body, but he is a second-year running back, which when you have young guys, like that's what you look for. You want young guys. You want upside at the running back position. So maybe he comes in. He ends up being, significant role. You get a late-end running back, too, if something happens moving forward at the position. I think he's worth rostering if you got the space. I know there's a lot of buys going.
Another guy we kind of talked about earlier is going to be Kyle Monangai. He finished as RB12 this week, which I think warrants at least being picked up in most league sizes. Again, I would probably curb expectation. Swift is still the clear number 1. I probably wouldn't want to have to start Monangai, but there is a lot of buys this week, so if you need it, I get it.
Okay. Orson Gadsden. We talked about him last week. I just butchered his name, but he went off for 150 yards, I think, something insane like that.
That's crazy.
On a team who now has lost their running identity, unfortunately, even though Vidal did show some promise. Again, that was against a soft run defense. The worrisome about this whole situation is there's 3 other very capable pass catchers on this team, but he has upside. In a team that's going to throw the ball, that should be scoring points. If he sees the opportunities, he sees the targets, he's a tight end that does have some upside. So, if you need tight end help, this could be a potential ad.
Young, talented, but a lot of mouths to feed on that Chargers offense right now. Someone who's not really young, but is apparently really talented is going to be Joe Flacco, the elite Joe Flacco. I think he deserves to be rostered. After last week's performance,
okay.
I'm not expecting like a top 10 QB every week, but buys and depths, especially if it's like a super flex league, I think he's providing great value.
Yeah, if we think T. Higgins and Jamar Chase are at least going to score 1, maybe 2 touchdowns between the two a game, and other people are obviously on that team. I could see it. It's kind of gross to say, but I could see it.
250 passing, like 2 touchdowns, 1.5 passing touchdowns a week, which I think is serviceable. I'm not saying he's elite, top 5 quarterback by any means, but I think he's serviceable.
And you mentioned some of those massive matchups that he has coming up, and you never know. Maybe this is Joe Burrow light against these terrible Cincinnati defense that's going to be giving up a ton of points, and they're just going to have to score a ton, even if he throws 2 picks a game. All right, you sold me on it. I'm down with some
defense,
Joe Flacco.
Baltimore twice, Miami.
Yep.
Yeah, he's got some juicy matchups down the stretch.
Bam Knight for week 9. This is a sneaky stash. Again, he faces Dallas, lead back in Arizona. And honestly, since I just said this, Alex probably will not be dropping him in our home league. Just know that
you can work out a trade.
Yeah, get out of here with all that. Just drop him like you were gonna. Just know that my advantage in fantasy dwindles every single week in my home leagues, and I'm doing this for y'all, okay? But that's all we got for today. If you like what you heard, give us a like and subscribe. If not, again, we just appreciate y'all being here. Thanks for hanging out. Now go steal a championship. We'll see y'all later.
Peace.